Foundation.com. We need your support now. Worldviewfoundation.com. Take care.
Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service to this nation. Having worked his way up from the enlisted ranks to full colonel, he served our country for more than 32 years. He has served as a bomber squadron commander, bomb disposal technician, Joint Chiefs of Staff Operations Officer, assisted the National Security Team with the campaign plan for the global war on terrorism. He authored the first theater nuclear war plan and served as the Vice Commander of America's largest airborne intelligence wing. Colonel Rob Maness is a true American hero. This is Rob Maness Live.
Iran today tried to save face, and instead they fell on their face spectacularly. And if you had any question if Iran was a rational actor, I believe the answer to that is categorically no. You know, this all began, the posture before Fordo was hit, was President Trump saying unconditional surrender. Iran responded, we will never surrender. Okay, that's to the number one power in the world. We are the world's hegemonic power here in the United States. So that was their answer. Then they were asked, hey, are you going to negotiate with the United States? They said no. And they said, and we will never end enrichment. We would rather have war. That is the posture of Iran. And then today, maybe it was an intentionally weak response, maybe not, but any response in my mind against the world's hegemonic power was going to end this way. And instead, what they got today, China's already left, Russia's already left. Well, guess who condemned the attacks? Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, Morocco, Jordan, Lebanon, Turkey, Yemen, and the Palestinian Authority. So you've literally lost everyone in the Middle East. Everyone except, I think, Iraq hasn't condemned it yet. Maybe they have. And I just want to say, lastly, just how wrong everyone has been on President Trump. You know, they said tariffs, the economy is going to end. Well, the economy is still rolling along. Oil's going to rise. Well, oil's falling. World War III is about to start. Well, instead, you've got the entire Middle East, it seems, set up in a posture where we may see more Middle East peace accords. So rather than World War III, we may get more peace. And rather than 34 felony counts, President Trump may end up with 34 Nobel Peace Prizes. That was for the leftists. You can clip this and make it go viral and go nuts.
Welcome back to Training Tuesday. The Rob Maness Show is live on Worldview Tube and X Spaces simulcast. Well, protecting your wealth from war and unexpected economic disasters is important to understand, as world events are the biggest impact on economies that cannot be controlled by governments. That is the reason we must protect our freedoms in this country. Our political and economic system remaining as free from government manipulation as possible is critical to your survival in a long-term crisis, including having currency available beyond the American dollar, which is a pure fiat currency backed by nothing and is easily devalued by government action or unforeseen events like the Iran war and America's entry into it. For these reasons, it's incumbent on all of us, American citizens, to be knowledgeable of the strategies and tools available to us to protect our wealth and be prepared to be able to buy and sell even in the event of a complete failure of the dollar. Well, my guest today is Jeremy Cordon. He's the founder and CEO of Goldback Incorporated, and it's passionate, very passionate about precious metals and sound money. During an internship at the Libertas Institute, he connected with Larry Hilton, which led to a role at the United Precious Metals Association, and there he helped grow membership from 400 to 25,000. Well, Jeremy later focused his efforts on creating something called Goldbacks, a physical gold currency designed to preserve wealth and strengthen local economies. Under his leadership, Goldbacks, that's right, Goldbacks, have expanded to multiple state series, empowering individuals and communities with a practical tool for financial stability. Jeremy, welcome to the Rob Maness Show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. Look, there's a lot going on in the world. That's why I wanted to show that little clip there and talk about this with you, because I first heard about this device probably about 8 months ago with another guest. And it's very interesting to me. But first, Give folks a little bit more detail on your background, who you are, and why you created Goldback Incorporated.
Sure. I was a Ron Paul delegate back in 2011. He talked a lot about sound money, how inflation was a kind of a hidden, invisible tax, and that what America really ought to do is go back to a gold standard. And I think that's where I just became obsessed with precious metals and trying to figure out precious metals from the angle of how do we make this money again. We've tried a
Hmm.
few different things. We did a gold cryptocurrency. But what I heard over and over again was if you don't hold it, you don't own it. It's not that we don't trust you, we don't trust the government. People want tangible value in their hand. So with the gold back, what we do is we take an ounce of gold and we split it into 2,000 pieces that
Hmm.
are uh, very, very, very spendable.
So by spendable, you mean that some, like a grocery store, might take it?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you can carry them around in your wallet. We've got, thousands of businesses that we advertise as taking them all the time, but people will spend gold at garage sales and farmers markets and with small business owners. And really what you're dealing with is we've taken gold and we've turned it into like an inflation-proof cash system.
Yeah, and why do we need to be inflation proof for the audience
Well,
out there?
what's the national debt? It's
37
like,
trillion or so and counting, right?
right. And what's the deficit? Um, I think the way that you get out of a problem that big is you just inflate the currency away. And that certainly seems to be the answer in just about every country in the world is there's a strong financial incentive to devalue the currency. And with that, your standard of living goes down. Now everybody has to have, a two working parent family. And, we got to spend 60% of our income on just housing.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of that is just because our dollars don't buy what they used to be able to buy.
Yeah, exactly right. We've got this war thing going on now. It seems to be spreading sometimes. I think we may have some opening here for peace, thanks to President Trump, his efforts and everything, and ignoring those that want to go further in the Iran war, especially. But with all this global instability, what's likely to happen to the fiat dollar, and what is a fiat currency anyway?
Sure. So our money system, it's printed by the Federal Reserve, which is a private institution. And, it's not really backed by much. It's like you could say it's backed by oil, um, but the value doesn't hold very well. And I think if you've, been in the market buying things, if you've gone to the grocery store, you can see that over time that your dollar buys less and less and less. Um, I think the sales pitch for gold for 40 years has been something along the lines of, hey, the dollar could fall apart any day now, and you really want to own something that's going to keep its value. So maybe buy gold because that's
Hmm.
had value for thousands of years. And it was kind of this, fear purchase, I guess. But you buy gold and, gold bars and gold coins, you can't really spend them.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
might be able to go back to your gold dealer and sell it for cash, but then you're back in cash. And you wouldn't accept gold from a stranger because it might be fake. Our markets are getting flooded with fake gold bars and fake gold coins. Um, So, the gold back, what we did is we took an ounce of gold, we split it into 1,000 pieces. This
Hmm.
is 1/1000th of an ounce of gold, and it's in a format that has never been counterfeited. So if
Well,
one
how
gold
do you
back,
tell, with U.S. currency, there's a way to tell if something's counterfeit or not by putting a special mark on it, et cetera, those kind of things. Is there a way to tell if one of these is counterfeited?
yep. So as of 2025, you can shine a black light on the back, and it will show you special patterns and logos. You can read the serial number through the gold back itself. Every one of them has a unique serial number. You've got a negative image of the front on the back. You've got 5 different kind of central bank anti-counterfeiting features on the front. So, and it's a $7 product, at least right now. So, the incentive to try to come up with a counterfeit for a $7 product is a lot lower. When you could make a fake gold coin reliably, that passes most tests, and the payoff is, $3,400 an ounce if you can pass off a fake.
Yeah. So does your company manufacture these, or are you contracting that process out?
So the manufacturing process is done by a company named Valorum. They've been in business for, I want to say, about 15 years now. And it's a very proprietary technology. There's really nothing else like it. We're a major shareholder in Valorum. We've got some great exclusivity deals with them. Goldback itself is a wholesaler. We sell to hundreds of different precious metals company that then resell the goldback.
And is there more than a $1 denomination of it?
Right. So there's a one. This is the Florida one. We've got it in different states. So that's the Florida one right here.
Mm-hmm.
The half that I was showing you. This is a stack of 100 of them. So the half gold backs were $3.50. Here is the 5 for Florida. So it's got 5 times the amount of gold as a 1, costs 5 times as much. And then here's a 50. It's got a World War II pilot on it for Florida.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
Costs 50 times as much as a 1, 50 times the amount of gold. It's interchangeable just like cash. And that's a big deal. If you're familiar with gold coins, 1 ounce of gold does not equal 10 ounces of gold. And 10 ounces of gold don't equal 1 ounce. So you can't even make change with gold. We wanted to just have one uniform, interchangeable price across the gold backs.
So is there like a, I've been stationed overseas and have to use local currency and everything. And, you live and die by the exchange rate with the dollar. Unfortunately, is there an exchange rate system that's been built and is public?
Yes. So if you go to goldback.com, you can see the exchange rate, and there's even a calculator. If you don't want to go to the website, you can also download the Goldback app, and you can even use the Goldback app to see businesses near you that advertise themselves as accepting goldbacks as payment.
Oh, I didn't see that in my research. So you have an app now?
Yep, there's an app, and we even have a website where you can get a goldback for free. If you just subscribe to our email and give us your shipping information, we'll send you your first half gold back at no cost whatsoever. And that website is freegoldback.com.
Well, how can you afford to do that? That seems
Well,
like a lot of
it's
money.
the same. Yeah, well, I mean, same reason they can afford to give Costco samples out, right?
Yeah.
They hand out free food all day at Costco. How can they afford to do that?
True. That's absolutely right. And food is expensive, plus the preparation. You have to pay somebody to do it, and those kind of things.
You got to pay someone to stand there and give away the food all day.
Yeah. We've got to take a break here in a second, but when we come back, I want to dive into the state thing. Something I learned this time in my research about it is there are a lot of states that have approved gold as legal tender, and I want to get you to teach the audience how this concept interacts with those laws, and really, I think it's part of them, which is exciting to know that I can go to a state and legally use tender a currency like this that's made in the United States, but it's not a U.S. dollar. I think that's a great effort. So I want the audience to learn more about the effort behind it. You guys role in that, and how, just dive into more about how this works, because this is not only fascinating, I think it's very important. We hear a lot about gold, but most people don't really have an understanding of what they can do with it or should do with it once they get their hands on the stuff. And they're buying it to protect themselves, really, in a crisis. So we'll be right back with Jeremy Cordon of Goldbacks Incorporated. Go to freegoldbacks.com. Get your free gold back. I'm going to do it right after the show. We'll be back in a second.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. I want to thank you for all your support at wvwfoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's Training Tuesday, and we're learning about goldbacks because, everybody's pitching gold and silver and purchasing that, put it in your individual retirement accounts, build entire IRAs on gold. But it doesn't seem that the average citizen walking around has the capability to actually take advantage of being a gold owner and be able to spend it on goods and services and those kind of things. And I think we've come across a solution. It's called Goldbacks. You can find out at goldbacks.com. Jeremy Cordon, the founder and CEO of Goldbacks, is with us today to show us the product and talking about all the different uses of it. And Jeremy, I don't think my video played. Mr. Producer, play that video titled Gold in Florida.
It's an idea that's in the Constitution. The founders left us. They told us that a state can make nothing other than gold and silver coin tender for payment of debts. And so we pulled that provision out. We showed it to a number of states, and we said, not only can you make it tender, but you can make it transactional. And so the motive was in Arkansas, Florida, Missouri, Texas, Louisiana, we've passed these laws. I mean, I wrote a book called Pirate Money, and within 2 years, they had laws passed in those states, signed by the Governor Sanders. She gave me the signing pen, signed by Governor DeSantis. He gave me the signing pen, thanked me for bringing the idea, and then let me talk at his press conference. Bottom line is, this is going to solve the wealth gap problem that's created by when we left the gold standard in 1971. And Dave, you and I sat and talked on my show about, since 1971, all the bad things that have happened when we left the gold standard.
Yes.
I mean, things, the household formation, number of babies, because basically it's created a wealth gap. The rich can get richer off of inflation. They can profit from it. The rest of us just suffer. So if we make gold and silver legal tender in the states, like the Constitution allows, we've started a movement where people can start transacting in gold and silver. And they don't have to take a gold coin and shave off a few flakes of it and try and buy a cup of coffee. It actually can be put and vaulted in a vault and then spent with a debit card. And this legislation will make it possible. So I think the interest in gold is just going to shoot through the roof. A lot of people don't buy gold because what will I do with it? Well, you're protected against inflation. Now with these new laws, all the gold will benefit, all the gold dealers will benefit. It's a huge opportunity for Americans.
Well, welcome back. Jeremy Cordon, the CEO of Goldbacks, as I said, is my guest today. And we're learning about Goldbacks. And I just wanted to show that clip primarily to show Kevin Freeman, who's actually a friend of mine, and I know him well, in the effort to get gold and silver to be authorized as legal tender in the states. It's a state law issue. And Jeremy, talk to us about that program, and are you involved in it at all as a manufacturer and seller of Goldbacks to integrate this type of, this looks like a dollar bill basically, type of spendable currency that is gold into the economy?
We do support a group called Citizens for Sound Money, and they work with uh, state governments at the state level passing sound money
Mhm.
legislation. So we're very involved in that effort. Yeah, some of these laws are better than others. Some of these laws they're simply recognizing gold and silver as legal tender. Other ones only recognize digital gold, which isn't great because there's also physical gold, not just gold
Yeah.
in a Swiss vault, by a foreign country, attached to
Mhm.
a debit card. I mean, there's more ways to use gold out there, and I think right now the free market is figuring out what it wants. Today, as of today, there are more gold backs produced in the United States than any other gold product by the mintage numbers. And, we have 6 states right now with their own gold back design. And by
Mhm.
the end of the year, it'll be 8. And by, the end of next year, I mean, we could have half the country in 5 years, is the pace that we're on right now with these gold back
Wow.
series.
That's
And they're not
impressive.
issued by the state. They're
I'm
not, they're
sorry.
not issued. I said gold backs aren't issued by a state. They're privately issued.
Yeah, and
State,
that's what I wanted to ask you, dive into a little bit there. You mentioned the debit card backed by some digital system that has gold in a vault, maybe somewhere in a different country. You don't really have it in your possession, right?
no, I mean that, and you know what? They could argue that's still better than using dollars, and they're probably right.
Hmm.
Um, I just think that there's a lot of potential solutions to this problem. If you're concerned about privacy, I think physical gold's for you. If you're concerned about third parties, you're getting cut off from your money. If you're worried about central bank digital currencies, I think physical gold's for you, but it should be a spendable form of gold. Um, as far as rolling out in the country and going out to more states, and Kevin Freeman mentioned this, states aren't really supposed to recognize anything other than gold and silver as legal tender, but the states themselves cannot issue currency. They're
Right.
constitutionally prohibited from making their own currencies. So that's why it's so important that the private sector comes in and develops these opportunities for people.
Yeah. And are you doing this from the private sector because there is no effort to maybe return the dollar to the gold standard? I think Nixon took it off the gold standard, or what was left of it in the early 70s, or is that on the table as a potential for to solve this?
Well, why would the government want to return to the gold standard when they can run a multi-trillion-dollar deficit and just devalue the currency? The gold standard is a check on government. And people blame the central bank all day long. Oh, the central bank, they printed so many dollars. Well, did they print all those dollars because the government demanded to borrow them?
Yeah,
And you get to
that's
feel
kind of my point.
and you get to
is to
feel
get
the impact.
is to get government back more under the control of itself,
Well,
and put it,
we've
try
been
to get it
waiting
back in the
for
box.
yeah, we've been waiting for 50 years to government to check itself. How's that going?
Mhm. Right, right,
Uh, I
exactly
think
right.
I think the gold back is a way to put yourself on a personal gold standard. And, since
Mhm.
these guys have come out, the price in dollars has only tripled. In fact, gold backs are the number one performing sub asset class. They've gone up in price more than any other gold product in the last 6 years, which, it's a big deal. And for the first 3 years, our biggest problem was keeping them in stock. We couldn't make enough gold backs to meet the market demand for what we're seeing. I mean, how much demand is there for inflation-proof money? Right now it seems to be unlimited, and we're just struggling to keep up in getting these things out there. They're turning in their gold bars and their gold coins that they bought for a just in case scenario, and they're
Mhm.
switching them to gold backs because that's a spendable and usable form of gold. And by the way, they're legal to use in all 50 states. We don't have to beg states to pass any more laws other than maybe repealing sales tax on precious metals, which Florida just did, um, because they're negotiable instruments. So we already have legal status everywhere in the country.
So that's a great point. That's a great point. I hadn't thought of that. The Constitution doesn't prohibit the use of other legal tender in states. It just prohibits states from producing their own money, printing
Right.
their own
Well,
money, right?
what's a Walmart gift card? Is it a
Oh,
dollar?
exactly.
It's a negotiable instrument. And
Yeah.
the same laws that allow for Walmart gift cards and negotiable instruments allow for goldbacks to be used as well.
Ah, outstanding. So, describe. I think on your website you said that you use them. So, what are some of the ways that you use them in your daily life?
I think they make great tips and gifts. Anyone that has a tip jar, anytime you want to go garage sailing, anytime you go to the farmer's market, you go to your dentist, you go to your chiropractor, anywhere that you got to pay a professional and you're talking to the business owner, there's a
Hmm.
50% chance they'll take payment in gold. Um, and that's a better thing to pay the business because now they have something that's not quickly losing value. If they hang on to it, the value goes up, and you're circulating money and strengthening and educating your own community on sound money. We've got parents that give them out as allowances, Christmas presents, birthday gifts. We've got thousands of businesses that advertise themselves as taking payment in goldbacks regularly. And you can find them on the Goldback app or even goldback.com. But, think people that'll, fix your roof, or power wash your house, or, even have car dealerships and grocery stores and gas stations, all sorts of places. And it's early days now. At first we only had a few hundred advertised businesses, and now it's thousands of advertised businesses. But if it keeps growing like this in 5 years, it could be tens of thousands of businesses.
Is there like a little, how a lot of the stores have little stickers on their doors that say, "Hey, we take American Express" or "We take Visa"? Are there the stores put up a sign or anything like that yet, or is it solely on like the app or the website that you can find this?
Oh, yeah, they absolutely have signs. We have Goldback acceptance stickers. In fact, if you have a business anywhere in America, you can sign up on goldback.com and we'll mail you a Goldback acceptance sticker that you can put up on your business.
Oh, awesome! You guys hear that out in the audience? If there's small business people that sell things and do transactions, put it on your doors. That's fantastic. Uh, so when I pass a gold back, just keep it simple for me because I don't do math very well. $1 or a one whatever it's called gold back. That denomination to a store owner to pay for something. What do I get back if I get change, and how do they figure that out?
There's places that'll give you Goldbacks back at change. There's places that'll give you cash back as change. The Goldbacks can go down to the nearest $3.50. So, you can get pretty close on your transaction with Goldbacks.
Hmm.
So there's not like a huge amount of change to give back a lot of the time.
Yeah. There's no move to by stores and stuff to mark their merchandise with gold back pricing, is there? That would be
Maybe
interesting.
eventually, maybe eventually. Right now, people are just using the calculator on goldback.com. But if this, as it continues to grow, and they get, right now it might be 1 in 100 customers that are spending gold. You go from 1 in 100 to, 1 in 10 or 1 in 2. You might see more gold back based pricing.
Yeah, it's so in these states, are you seeing any economic impact at all? Is there any kind of data collection or tracking on the impact of gold backs in like small town economies, that kind of thing? Is there any of that level of research being done at this point?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, a lot of what we see is anecdotal just because a gold back transaction it's like cash. It's a private transaction. And
Hmm.
unless people tell us about it, we don't know it happened. Now, I mentioned that Goldback calculator we have on goldback.com. So we do get an idea of how many of these transactions are occurring. Today, there's about $250 million worth of goldbacks out there. And last year, we had about 120,000 hits on that calculator. Now, keep in mind, most goldback transactions I don't use the calculator. You can just, $7 a goldback if something costs $35. The math isn't hard a lot of the time. I use the calculator for bigger transactions. So the evidence would suggest that there's quite a bit of these transactions happening. The year before, in 2023, there were only 60,000 hits on the calculator on goldback.com. So we know people are using it. We know there's folks that are buying goldbacks, they're spending them. Now you look at a small town, to get to your question. Imagine you have a small community out in a state like Colorado, and you've got a dozen people in a town that are transacting with each other over and over and over again, selling the same types of goods. You got the store and the ranchers, and you've got the butcher, and you've got the money just cycling around this little community. If you're using credit cards, you're losing 3 to 4% on every transaction. So in 10 transactions, the town, they lost 30% of their money, something like that. How does that work? So a lot of these towns, they solve that problem by using cash, but you could lose 10, 15% of your value with cash every year. So
why is that?
Well, it's just inflation. They just keep printing money.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Government
Inflation.
borrows and they got to print, and then your money's worth less and less. So if the town money that's circulating around the same town loses 10, 15% in a year, that means they have to earn 10, 15% of that money supply from another community just to break even. And a lot of communities aren't doing that. They're just becoming poorer and more destitute and more desperate. If they use goldbacks instead, there's no transaction fees and there's no inflation. And if you've used goldbacks for the last 5 years, you started at a value of $2.25, and now goldbacks cost, $6.75. So it's tripled against the dollar. So communities using goldbacks instead of dollars are doing very well.
Well, let's talk some more about that after this break. When we come back, we'll see a little video about the debasement of the dollar, which is another reason why I try to educate people on this type of currency and legal tender and opportunities to protect themselves. Because as you've mentioned already, the government can just print their way out of print money out of thin air, and it causes inflation, devalues the currency, and that can get way out of control, especially when we're carrying national debt at $37 trillion and $2 billion deficit every year. We'll be right back with Jeremy Cordon of goldbacks.com. Hey, go get a free goldback at freegoldback.com.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Would you like to gain access to over 20 years of my radio shows, TV shows, my books? I've written 15 books, and most of those books are ebooks now. And we have conference DVDs, conferences where we filmed our conferences at the Ozarks, literally starting 20 years ago. It's all available in our archived vault. All you have to do is go to worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, and for a reasonable monthly fee, you gain access to over 20 years of Christian worldview programming, news, information, books, documentaries, and a powerful search engine. And folks, it's a great way not only to educate yourself, equip yourself, but it's a big way that you can help fund our continuation as a broadcast network. Please check it out. worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, and help us continue pushing out a Christian worldview.
the United States was a company on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, we would call it a zombie company. And the reason for that is that they have to borrow, they have to issue debt, and they have to borrow money just to pay interest on the old debt. It's basically dead man walking. And that's the situation we're in America. And so all of that gets to the whole point, which is the only way that they can deal with this debt is to allow for high perpetual structural inflation. And that will cause GDP to go up nominally. That'll create more dollars in the economy, but those dollars will be worth less to consumers. However, they'll help pay down the old debt that is based in those old dollars. And so you have these new dollars that are worth less. There's a whole lot more of them. They print money. They just create liquidity. They expand the balance sheet of the Fed by printing money with the Treasury, and they use those dollars to create more GDP nominally and pay down the debt. And we all know that the main driver of inflation is basically the expansion of the money supply.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's Training Tuesday, and we're learning more about Goldbacks from the CEO and founder, Jeremy Cordon of Goldbacks.com. And if you want a free one, go to freegoldbacks.com and put your information in, and they'll send you one. It doesn't cost you a penny, just a little bit of time. Jeremy, I wanted to show that clip. I think those are Bitcoin guys or cryptocurrency guys, but it's the same concept, the same concerns that we have about the government printing money. That was an interesting discussion about the printing of the money to get ourselves out of the national debt. Holy cow! The thought about starting a community and just transitioning a small community or small town and living there over to just using goldbacks as their currency is pretty attractive when I listen to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, it gets you out of the matrix. I think a lot of people are worried about being financially cut off, or just being in a system that fundamentally just takes so much value away. And a lot of people will understand this issue better outside of the United States than in it. And there's countries where, there's 30% inflation a month. Can you imagine having 30% inflation a month? It's like those people understand inflation-proof currency. I mean, they're so desperate to get out of that they're using cryptocurrency, which, is probably an improvement, even though it's highly volatile.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about maybe going to a small town and pitching their citizens about just transitioning off of the dollar and onto gold packs as an experiment to see how that might work, or has that already been done?
It's already been done. It's already happening. There's already small communities all over the West that are doing this and experimenting with this. But again, we'll never truly know the full extent because all of the transactions are private. I don't know about them. I hear it back through the grapevine. Someone tells me, yeah, we've been doing this in town for 3 years, and so gets them and brings them in. And, we've got 50 people in our town, and all of us just use Goldback. So you hear about it.
Mm-hmm. Have you, do you get any feedback from businesses around the country that have started taking them, and what their experiences are?
Yeah, people tend to like it. It's very novel. You're getting a form of payment that's maintaining value, and you're participating in a revolutionary thing in the sense that you're not part of a dollar system that you don't want to be part of. A lot of the folks complaining about central bank digital currencies and that are worried about it, they're writing their governors and their senators, hey, I don't want to be in a central bank digital currency, keep us away. I don't want to lose my privacy. I don't want to, I don't want to be in that. They're using cash instead. And frankly, that's another central bank product. You're going from the central bank digital currency to the central bank physical currency. And, that maybe that's an improvement, but you're still supporting the central bank. You're still using their products, and you're not dodging inflation.
So you're still beholden to that inflation. You're captured by that. Well,
Right.
we've got a question from the live audience. Let's go ahead and take that before we get to the last break. Go ahead, Shell, is our host. Go ahead, Shell.
All right, we have a question from the audience. He would like to know how many gold backs you have in circulation now.
So now we've got about $250 million worth of gold backs in circulation. It's somewhere in that ballpark. So it's grown quite a bit.
When did you start?
We started in 2019.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it is quite prolific. Do you have an idea of where they're at in the country?
They're all over the place, and it's actually pretty evenly dispersed. States that we have a design for tend to have a little bit more interest per capita. For example, a state like, Utah, where we have the first design, they buy a lot more gold backs than most of their neighbors that don't have a design. People like to see their own state's name on the gold back, and we are getting more states out, but the vast majority of gold backs are sold in states that don't have a gold back.
Really?
Mhm.
Interesting. We need a Mississippi one. That's where I'm from.
Okay.
Did we have another question, Shell?
Yes, sir. We have Adam.
Go ahead.
Hey, Colonel. Thanks for having me, and Shell. I've been, I'm very much into the idea of, sound money over fiat currency. And I love what you got here. I did sign up and get for that free gold back on your website. I've been researching and looking at stuff for a while, and there is a company, I'm not going to say their name, but they do mint on the blockchain gold, and basically you could exchange it on your phone immediately for US dollar, and then you could also go to one of their LMBA audited banks. They audit them like once a month, and actually get your physical gold and redeem it there. So you have the option to switch. Is there something that you're going to do along that line?
Yes. So if you want, you can vault gold backs, you can sell them. There's companies that sell them for a 0% spread, meaning if you paid $7 for a gold back today and they went up in value by 1%, you're selling for $7.07. So you're not losing 10 or 20, you have very high liquidity. One of those companies, they offer free vaulting too. They're called Alpine Gold. You can look them up. I know APMEX right now, they're the largest online bullion dealer, company in the country, where they're offering a free gold back with all their orders. And last I heard is they accept gold backs back from their customers at the same rate that they're selling for on a given day. So, the gold back is
more direct, sir. More direct to my question is, are you going to do like a digital form and keep it in a vault and audit it? And then in the future, is that something that you're looking toward or considering? Because a lot of people like paying digitally and so on and so forth. And
yes.
Sorry.
So you can do that now. Again, so if you had an account at Alpine Gold, you could do a digital transfer of gold backs. And it sits in an account that's audited and, LBMA approved and insured. So you could, just like a credit union, with cash, you could do digital vaulted gold backs as well. And there seems to be more companies that are getting interested in also providing that service.
Yeah, it's seems like everybody wants easy, and I'm not sure that my digital experience is easier. I don't pay much in cash, but when I do pay in cash, especially large transactions, it's a lot easier. It's you mentioned paying people to do your roof and all that stuff. That's where I'm starting to think about this. I'm like, man, I should probably have some of these in my little safe here to do things like pay contractors, independent contractors I'm hiring to do things around the house, those kind of things, right?
I keep them. You'd be amazed. I mean,
Mm.
think you give a tip at a restaurant, hey, you did a really great job tonight. How would you feel if I gave you some 24 karat gold as part of your tip? Well, really? Well, really? Can
Yeah.
I see it? And they get all excited. And then
Uh,
you're explaining you found money to someone that's never owned gold before. Um,
yeah.
you know, we-
Yeah,
we've
exactly.
introduced we've introduced millions of people to gold ownership in the United States through the gold back, and
Yeah.
it's a powerful thing. Spread.
It's
It's a spread
amazing. Well, we got to take our last commercial break, Jeremy. When we come back, we'll turn a little bit back towards the instability. I want to get your take on what you think is going to happen, or what might be some impacts on gold prices, what it's worth, those kind of things. And this one's the opening video is about oil prices. We'll be right back with Jeremy Cordon. We only got 15 minutes left with him, so if you have any questions, folks, get in here and ask them. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Is the government tracking you? Do they have access to all your data? Well, if you go to worldviewtalk.com, you'll find out about a cell phone company that, well, does not store your data. They don't do that. This is what they're known for. They don't store your data. You have privacy. You're not being tracked. That's why a lot of folks are turning to worldviewtalk.com. You'll find their prices are very competitive. All the details are there at worldviewtalk.com. Again, worldviewtalk.com. Oh, while you're there, not only do they have cell phones that aren't tracking you, you can find out about how to get a satellite phone. Should the whole system go down and you want to communicate with a family member or loved one, you might want to have a satellite phone. Or how about their solar generators? They have great solar generators. Check them all out right now. Worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com.
No, he's attempting to jawbone through social media the major oil producers in this country to please don't go along with world oil prices that, okay, Deutsche Bank is forecasting are going to go from a range of 85 to 120 bucks possibly for the time period that the Straits of Hormuz may be blocked. We buy precious little oil that comes from that source. Only like 7% of our imports, which are almost nil to begin with, come from there. What he's concerned with is global pricing going to 85, 120 bucks, from which we benefit massively, by the way, as our major export commodity. But consumers here will be punished if that happens because these companies will raise prices to match what happens globally and the demand they get globally to displace the 20 million barrels a day that comes from the sections of the Middle East that are furnished through the Hormuz Straits. So he's jawboning our domestic industry to try to hold prices in line. Don't go along with the bad guys. That's not going to work. They're going to, as they always have, they'll track prices with OPEC and the rest of the world to wherever the global markets go. And right now, the assessment of Deutsche Bank, for example, is we might be headed to 85 low to 120 high based on this Hormuz Straits impact for as long as it may last.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's Training Tuesday, and we're talking about gold today again. And this time, our guest is Jeremy Cordon, the CEO and founder of a company called Goldbacks. You can go find out about them at goldbacks.com. You can get a free Goldback at freegoldbacks.com. So I recommend you go do that. I'm going to do that. And I'm not pitching this stuff, guys. I'm just very interested in it because I see what's happening in our currency. And as Jeremy has already said in the show, when have we seen the government in the last 60 years rein itself in at all? So we've got to do things to protect ourselves. This is a good way to do it, in my opinion. I'm going to be looking and taking and participating in this more and more as time goes by. Jeremy, I wanted to show that clip because try as he might, the president is a smart businessman. He understands what's going on. But Dave Walton there is he is right on the money. They're going to go on the oil prices with the bad guys. Are there any gas stations that take these in your app? Any gas stations show up?
No, there's definitely a handful.
Wow.
And it kind of depends where you're at. Yeah, this is
Mhm.
this is pretty early for Goldback. We've only been out for a handful of years, but we're seeing just this increased rate of adoption where people are raising their hand and they're signing up their business on goldback.com because they want to participate in a sound money system where they're not being as subject to inflation. And you have to build that network out, and it just takes time.
Yeah, I mean, there are some numbers rolling around with this crisis that's going on, and I think we may be able to avert it because of the ceasefire agreement that the president's managed to, albeit shaky, get into place today. But I mean, I'm hearing numbers like $30 a gallon for regular gasoline here in the United States, and we don't even get 5% of our fuel out of the Persian Gulf anymore. It's all right here. So that's very concerning. You mentioned educating people in the last segment. Do you guys have an education program that teachers can get to teach kids about sound money and how systems like the Goldback system might work?
We do have a Tuttle Twins episode. If you're familiar with that show, we did a sponsorship with them a few years ago, and it's a kids show, and they
Mhm.
talk about goldbacks. Yeah, you could probably watch that on angel.com. But they teach all sorts of, liberty principles. So we have, generated content like that. You can learn a lot on goldback.com. If you type Goldback into YouTube, I mean, there are, thousands of videos, and some people love them and some people don't. Um, and really, we're kind of getting into Goldback 2.0 territory with this Florida launch. We went from a five-piece series to a nine-piece series. And we're just rolling out more and more businesses that take these as payment. Um, and we're going to go from, we do one state a year. This year we're doing three states. And next year, I suspect we'll do more like five or six, including redesigns.
Yeah. So how many states have you done, or what are the states that you've done so far, and what
So
are
we,
the three coming out?
yeah, so we've done Florida. In the past, we did Utah, Nevada, New Hampshire, Wyoming, and South Dakota. So just kind of small states, just getting started. Later this year, we're doing Oklahoma. That starts in August, and then we're hoping to squeeze Arizona in before the year is over.
And if I go to your site and I want to buy some, I can pick a state's artwork.
Yes. Yeah,
So
you
you,
can
oh, really?
absolutely pick which state you want. If you go to goldback.com though, you're going to find a list of websites that sell goldbacks because again, we're a wholesaler. We've got, five or 600 different distributors that sell goldbacks to the public, whether it's your local coin store or an online dealer. And even just a year ago, it was, we've had maybe 100 dealers. So we're really starting to gain some traction in the precious metals world.
Is there for like online dealers? Is there a specific process that they go through to set that up and establish themselves with you guys?
Yes. So if you're a coin dealer in the United States, you can sign up on goldback.com. If you want to be a distributor, we're going to require that you've been in business for a certain number of years, and there's some, uh, you know, you can't just be anybody and be a distributor for Goldback. We want to, work through the existing network.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably a good idea. There's a lot of I came across in my research, social media posts, YouTube videos. I call them the naysayers. Well, you can't spend gold. Nobody's gonna really take this. I mean, how do you talk to people like that? Because I mean, it seems like half of our population these days are automatically in that category.
The first question I got about Goldback, I'd introduce it to people and I'd show them what it was and say, hey, this is the Goldback. It's like inflation-proof money. You'd say something like, well, that's cool, but what would I do with it? Or who would ever take
Yeah.
that? Who would ever take that? And that's why we started advertising businesses that absolutely would take them. And I was hoping I could get maybe 1 or 2% of business owners and put together a list of 100 business owners just so I could say that somebody took it and point them where to go. And I was shocked to find that once we started trying to sign businesses up, is that about half of small business owners were willing to take gold as payment for goods and services. We had no idea it would be that high of an acceptance rate.
That's amazing. Is there a place on your website where business owners can go in and say, "Hey, we want you to know that we will take gold backs"?
Yes, yep. You go to goldback.com and you go right up to the top. There's 3 bars in the top right, and you can there's a form that you can fill out where we'll advertise you to people that download the Goldback app in your local area. And it's a lot of fun. People are starting to get more and more of these customers that are coming in with the Goldback. And it's a baby step towards independence from, a central bank system that, right
Yeah.
now, I mean, they don't have the same monopoly they used to have. I mean, the cryptocurrencies out there and different
Mm.
things, but if you want something and you want to use, like a physical cash-like form of money, I I think the gold back's the best option. I mean, people aren't even, I used to barter with like junk silver, and I won't do it anymore just because our market's getting flooded with fake silver and fake gold. And it makes it very risky to use most forms of silver and gold. Part of why the gold back is so strong is just because it's never been counterfeited before. And we're constantly rolling out new technologies to keep it ahead of the counterfeiters.
Yeah. Where does you said the company that prints them is Valorum? Where do they get their gold at?
So we source it all from gold that's mined inside the United States. Um, that's it's a very domestically produced product, and gold backs are made in America with American gold.
And I've got a couple minutes left, so here's my another nerdy question. All right, people want to diversify, even in this space of precious metals and backup currency to protect themselves and everything. What about silverbacks? No pun intended, folks. Is there a move afoot or any ideas out there about maybe producing that, or is it not cost effective?
So we did do a silverback. I mean, you take an ounce of gold and you split it into 1,000 pieces, and that costs money. You split into 2,000 pieces, it costs even more. And it used to be that if you went that small with gold, I'll answer your silverback question here in a second.
Yeah.
If you went that small with gold, you're paying 5, 6, 700% over the melt price of gold. And we've actually got it down really low. We got it below 100% and highly liquid at that price point. So we're really proud of how cheaply we've been able to produce the gold back as a hyperfractional gold product. For silver, it costs more money to split it into 1,000 pieces, but a thousandth of an ounce of silver is only worth 3 cents.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with silverback. It's like we can sell you one, it's going to cost you, $8 or something, but it's going to have 3 cents worth of silver in it. Whereas a
Exactly.
thousandth of an ounce of gold is, like $3.50 melt value, and we can sell that for 7, and you can sell it and trade it for 7, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it trades at higher than the melt value. It's worth more than that.
You bet.
But we are going to make silverbacks anyway. So we did do it anyway. They do exist. If you go on eBay, you can find a silverback. We did
Okay.
a limited amount just for fun. And we'll probably do it again for fun because believe it or not, you're not the first person to ask for them. And if I said, hey, Rob, here's a silverback, it's $8. It's got 3 cents of silver in it. But isn't this cool? That's kind of the category that belongs in.
Yeah. Well, thanks for answering that question. I wanted to ask it because I am interested in it. You picked up on that. But I think other people would naturally ask that question. And it's I figured it was about a cost effectiveness, those kind of things. I'll be looking for them, though, just to say I got one or two if I could find them. Well, so we're down to our last 30 seconds, Jeremy. Just remind folks where they can find you and about the free stuff and the education tools that are available.
Yeah, if you want a sample of 24 karat gold with no strings attached, you can get one at freegoldback.com. If you want to learn all about the goldback, you can learn more on goldback.com.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you spending so much time with us and educating us on this system. I will be partaking in the goldback system, folks. I'm going to do it. It looks very easy and is very easy, apparently. and it's worth having something in your wallet you can actually spend. That's what makes a big difference to me. Tomorrow's Whistleblower Wednesday. The Sticker Mule CEO, Anthony Costantino, is going to be with us. If you don't know who the Sticker Mule CEO is, and you didn't see the big sign up in New York State where the town's mayor, I think, tried to take him out, and he's got a great company, and he's got some things to tell us. I'll see you then on Whistleblower Wednesday.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Is the government tracking you? Do they have access to all your data? Well, if you go to worldviewtalk.com, you'll find out about a cell phone company that, well, does not store your data. They don't do that.